Hey guys, what is going on? This is NGS and welcome back to another episode of VEDA. VEDA stands for Vlog Every Day in April and we are on day numero 18. So for this episode in particular, I'm going to be doing another collaboration video. I guess if you can call the Let's Watch Daredevil one a collab video where I was talking with one of my friends about the episode. I'm doing another one since, well, a lot of things dropped in the past couple of days. A couple trailers for a couple really big releases, but I want to focus on one in particular. It's because I know you guys are really wanting to know my thoughts because I've been pretty quiet on most parts of the internet about it, and that is the teaser trailer for Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. And joining me tonight, I have none other than Captain Opinion Destroyer, the Pathogeo-free Danny D's World, Danny Dement, and it's been a long time coming. I know you guys have not heard this guy in a very long time. I think it's been almost 3 years. I've got Young Rots 112. So say hello, gentlemen. Say hello.
Hello.
What's going on, people?
Alrighty, so the trailer for Batman v Superman finally dropped. Something everybody's been looking forward to for, well, the past year and a half or so. A lot of people were thinking it was going to drop at the end of last year during the Super Bowl, Jupiter Ascending, but we finally got a leak of it, and the next day Warner Brothers actually uploaded an HD trailer. So we're just going to sit here and talk to you guys about our thoughts on the trailer, and more specifically, our thoughts on the movie, because we really haven't been the most excited people about the idea of Batman and Superman coming together in one movie. Well, not as early as it is anyway. So since we haven't heard from Young Rot in a couple of years on this channel, I want to, open it up to you, man. I want you to just talk about the entire making of Batman, Superman, and, why you haven't been too keen on it.
Well, I think just like both of you guys, I think it was way too soon. It was way too soon. Whereas Superman was still relatively new. He just had one movie out, and for the longest, we was under the assumption that this was just Man of Steel 2. But then putting Batman into it, I never really had a good feeling about this. I always just felt this is way too soon, and this trailer didn't even help me in the slightest bit. So I don't know. How did you guys feel about it? I mean, from the start, let's just go ahead and start from the announcement. How did you guys feel from the very announcement that this was happening?
To be honest, I say I was shocked at first, because anybody who follows the history of DC movies knows that this is not the first time they've tried to get a Batman Superman movie off the ground. It's evolved over so many years, and with this being the first official concrete thing, I was actually kind of excited to an extent, but at the same time, knowing that this movie was supposed to be the sequel to Man of Steel, and knowing that Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer, how they were talking about, yeah, man, I'm really excited for the Man of Steel sequel and the opportunities that it offers us, because we've got the big blue Boy Scout established. We can do all these cool things, and then you just hear all of a sudden that this is no longer Man of Steel 2. This is Batman versus Superman. It just kind of felt to me that Warner Brothers and DC had no faith in the Superman license for another movie. They just had to, in typical Warner Brothers DC fashion, shove in their granddaddy of them all, Batman, just to fill butts and seats. That's what I'm thinking. From that point, it just felt like they didn't have faith to give it time and let Batman have his own solo movie and then do a team up. It just felt to me like they're just rushing it. And it would be one thing to just have the character in the movie and just say, oh, well, look, it's Batman, but they're headlining it as Batman Superman. It's like making it a bigger deal than it really needs to be, especially so early on. But Danny, what about you, my friend?
Well, for me, this started back with Man of Steel, and I enjoyed that movie. I did, but I also did concede there were some somewhat legitimate criticisms of the film. Characters hadn't been terribly developed too much. If they didn't have any kind of relevance to the plot, they were sort of just there. But I also knew that this was meant to be an establishing thing. They were kind of testing the waters. This is the first superhero movie they've had for quite a while that wasn't Batman, and even then, when the last time they did Batman, they felt the need to unnecessarily ground it in reality, so to speak, to the point where, I mean, even Bane was depowered to just a really buff guy. Uh,
You
that's
know,
it. And
A
well,
really
we're
buff
not.
guy that had a
We're not.
permanent painkiller.
Well, yeah. Venom is just a painkiller, apparently, and allegedly he would actually be even more formidable if he didn't have it dulling him or something. I don't know.
Oh
Um,
God.
but it was weird. It was just so weird to see that they were, taking that horse, and all of a sudden, they're swinging right into that's all done. We're done with that. Now we're doing Superman again. And I loved what they based it on, the fact that it even took its name from John Byrne's reboot series, Man of Steel. I loved it. I really did. And I was excited going into it. I really enjoyed the movie. I was excited for the future. I was watching all the interviews. I was excited for the sequel to that as I was for, say, a Marvel movie. Okay. Um, I was actually paying attention to the interviews. I was listening to, they said, oh, well, we have some ideas for who we want to be the villain. And it's like, okay, I'm clicking that because I want to hear who they're thinking of. And of course, the name Lex Luthor was brought up, but so was Brainiac, so was Darkseid, so was, it sounded like they were going to be doing really going all out, going for these more, fantastical villains. They weren't going to try to contain it in this hyper realistic pocket that, in a way, makes it even more unrealistic.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be so realistic, and yet that you still had to do a lot of suspension of disbelief for some of it. So that kind of contradicts your entire thing there. But then, we're getting to Comic-Con, and they're like, we're going to be making an announcement soon, and, and it's like, up until that point, they'd always been talking Superman sequel, Superman sequel, Superman sequel.
Yeah.
Then suddenly they stopped talking about that, like 2 days before their Comic-Con panel.
Yeah.
They would just talk about the announcement. They would talk no more about the Man of Steel sequel. They weren't calling it that. They were even teasing it that they were going to be talking about the Man of Steel sequel leading into Comic-Con. Then suddenly it just stopped. And they just kept talking about the panel, their announcement. It's like, okay. And then when they get there, they don't have anything. That's the thing that really bugs me about the announcement. The fact that it was just so abrupt that they stopped talking about a Man of Steel sequel, and suddenly, they show up there and they have nothing. They had like the most vague outline possible of what they were trying to do. They couldn't hardly answer any fan questions at all without any kind of generic answer. And the fact that it was turned into a Batman and Superman movie, and they quoted from The Dark Knight Returns, which is literally the last story you could ever hope to do with these two meeting each other for the first time. Because that entire series requires them having a history, and frankly, it requires Superman to be a little bit out of character and Batman to be slightly out of character, but there's a reason for that. It's an Ultraverse, Right. It's an Elseworld story. So you can kind of go with that a little bit, because even though they were slightly out of character, they weren't, obscenely out of character until later, but that's another story. That's another story altogether. But to hear them quote from that, the moment I heard them quote that, my stomach just sank, because I knew right there that there was no way that they could do this well. And then there are people saying that, they never said they're taking it from The Dark Knight Returns. You're reading into that. It's like they literally read from it right there at the panel. And the fact that all they had at that panel was reading that line with the lights off, and then suddenly the logo. That's all they had was a logo and a line from The Dark Knight Returns. That's all they brought to Comic-Con. This was a studio decision. This is not something that they'd wanted to do, like they were trying to say. This is not something that they were passionate about doing, like they were trying to say. This was a studio-mandated film, and it's because Man of Steel... Now, here's the thing. Man of Steel actually did really well. They actually skimped on the advertising a bit, and which is why I'm surprised it did as well as it did. I was thinking that they were nervous about it, which is why they didn't advertise it much, so that way when it made less money, they hadn't spent as much on it, so they could still turn a profit,
Yeah.
But no, it did surprisingly well for the limited.
I personally, I think it did well enough that it could have stayed a separate thing, and then they could have done Batman on the side. You didn't need to merge them together so soon.
That's the thing. But see, here's what happened. Iron Man 3 happened.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man 3 did something that, I mean, okay, you have to understand. First, they came off of, The Dark Knight Rises, and that movie made $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight made $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Superman makes $500 million.
700.
Well, yeah, but at the time,
at the time, yeah.
At the time, it wound up with over $700 million. But at the time, you were looking at the papers and they were talking about the sequel. It was $500 million.
Right. Yeah.
That's looking like they just had their profits that they've gotten spoiled by cut in half. And it's one of those things where it's like, we just lost a ton of money by doing this. What do we do? Well, the last 2 movies that we had did extremely well. They were Batman movies. Let's stick Batman in here. We'll break $1 billion again, guaranteed. And sadly, they probably will, just because of the spectacle of the thing.
Yep.
I mean, heck, the Avengers even would have probably still broken $1 billion, even if it hadn't had that lead up.
Mm-hmm.
But what bugs you about it, though, is that the Avengers at least still put in the effort. So that way, the lead up made that payoff even sweeter. It
Right.
made it even more enjoyable. And then the fact that they still kept working with it afterward. I mean, let's be honest. There are some projects that they're still working on and they're still pushing forward, even though they haven't been as profitable. I mean, Thor's getting a 3rd movie, and let's face it, Thor hasn't exactly been the most successful of the MCU.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 broke $1 billion again, but shockingly, they're still not trying to push Iron Man into literally everything, although Joss Whedon seems to be. Yeah, and that's another thing for another day once again. Yep. But I mean, Captain America, they allowed Cap to be Cap. They're still allowing Cap to have the leadership role. They're still, and they still put a lot of effort into his movie, even though he actually hadn't had a terribly profitable. There we go.
To put it into perspective for some of you guys who are wondering about the box office returns for Thor and the first Captain America movie, I believe Thor made in the range of 400 to 450 million, and the first Cap, I don't even think it hit 400 million. I think it was in like the 370s range, which honestly for new heroes who, I mean, they're popular in comics, sure, but for new heroes on the big screen, that's a modest box office for the most part. But when you get to the sequel and you had the Avengers bump, Thor instantly 600 plus million. Captain America, I think, what did that hit? 800 million?
I think it broke 900.
900 million. Wow. Winter Soldier.
Yo.
Winter Soldier
earned every dime, yo.
Yeah. But I mean, if they had done what DC does, Captain America would have been straight up probably. Well, it would have been Civil War right away, or it would have been Iron Man teaming up with him, or they would have crammed in as many other heroes as they could, and instead they only wound up with one other.
Yeah, Cap 2 did 715 million, which is still not 900, but still that's incredible. Good. From 390 to 700, Jesus.
Yeah,
I might be counting DVD sales.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, I'm just looking at the box office. But even with DVD sales, that's great. Yeah. But again, back on point. Yep.
But yeah, okay. Wow, like the bunny trail. I mean, Marvel going forward has, they've committed to this, and even if something doesn't make as much money as the others, it still was profitable. It still made money. People still enjoyed it.
Yep.
So they're going to, keep going with it. Mm. They're not just going to cut it off. They're not just going to kill it, and that's great. They didn't curb any current plans or anything. Civil War, to be perfectly honest, I think is only happening because they want to get at least one more movie out of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
So, they're going to try to capitalize off that. But it's going to be funny, though, if he agrees to stay on for like a couple more after that, so they didn't have to do it this soon. But
they're like, oh, my bad.
But you know what the sad thing is?
Make a Civil War sequel, then. Oh, we can do it the right way now.
Civil War 2. You know what?
Civil War in Phase 4.
The sad thing is, any way they do it, this is one case where I genuinely hope they don't do it like the comic, because the comic, Another topic.
Oh no,
But
we're guys. You know what we're doing? We're universe building right now.
uh,
Yeah, we are. We are.
But
Because
back on point.
that's a dark road to go down.
But
But
back on
draw back
point.
a little bit.
Let's take it back a bit. Take it back a bit. Focusing on yes, Marvel shows more dedication to their things and their properties than DC does. But I think the biggest thing that really, because you know a lot of people saying this is more conspiracy theory. You guys are reading into it. How oh no they planned this all along. I wish I can find this interview, but does anybody remember right after they announced Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's first interview, and how he was like, "Oh yeah, you know, it kind of sucks that we just went straight from this to that, but it's gonna be fun regardless. It's gonna be awesome."
I do remember something like that. I do remember something like that.
Yeah, like even Snyder to some extent felt burned because they were actively talking about this after the movie came out. They were speculating on what they wanted to do. Him and Goyer, they were thinking, and then this just happened.
They had plans. They had plans. They had diagrams, bar graphs. They like Superman was back. Yeah. Superman was back, and he was here to stay. But the next movie, though, Batman.
Yeah. So, oh man.
Yeah. Side note, because the fact that Danny pretty much put their presentation on blast just made me think about. Remember when the lights went out and came on, and Snyder and everybody was just gone? I'm like, yeah, they were taking no questions. They probably had nothing to give.
Yeah. Probably what happened. Like,
They probably had nothing to give. Like, all right, let them lose their mind, and we gonna get up out of here.
we're gonna disappear, and everyone's like, "Where'd they go?" And
Right.
Chris Hardwick was there, like,
Hey, he was just like, hey, what was that? What was that?
What was that?
That fool, he lost his mind. He was like, what was that? Oh, yeah, they just left you with that because they don't know yet. Let me just draw a spotlight. Their presentation was exactly how Danny said. First of all, they had a random guy that was in Man of Steel. I think he played the general.
Yo,
and they had, because his voice was,
remember that.
because his voice was deep enough, they had him read the Batman quote. And I will never forget, if you watch the announcement video, as soon as he says, I want you to know, you hear these three guys just start dying in the crowd. It's like they already knew.
oh my God.
You know what the funny thing is? I wish I could have access to that computer and see the flash drive that they put in to show the little teaser of the logo, and then watch that the document was just edited like 15 minutes ago.
Man, no, there wouldn't even be a document. They just wiki quote and a GIF. That's it.
That's all you get today. That's all you got today.
Yo.
But yeah,
that's why they bounced out when the light off. They was gone.
But yeah, it gets worse when you realize that. What was it they said Affleck was contracted for? Like 19 movie appearances. So
yeah,
this isn't just Superman.
Cameo in at least every movie that's coming.
Exactly.
Out.
This isn't just a lack of faith in Superman. This is a lack of faith in their entire library, to the point where they are literally going to stick Batman in everything, whether it's for. And notice, these aren't contracted appearances as Bruce Wayne, even. They are contracted appearances as Batman. So, not Bruce Wayne, not the alter ego, which would make sense for interacting with some of these characters. Batman.
Yeah, so
Batman himself, cape and cowl, gonna be, and apparently Decepticon voice, gonna be out there showing up in every single movie, because apparently only Batman can ever make money, and only Batman has fans.
You already know how many people you think. I mean, because I can already see it, because we saw it in the Justice League almost all the time.
Yeah.
How many people are going to be stuck investigating something? Then it's going to cut to them going to Bruce in the Batcave, and he doing the forensics for him.
Yo. All right. And I think that definitely does put things into perspective, because look at the DC animated universe. Look at the movies they make. DC makes some great animated movies. I will say that. However, look at the ratio of Batman, Superman stuff to comparison to all their other things. And you tell me that, like, obviously Batman makes money for DC. But when you see that, like, every year it's Batman this, Batman that, Batman and Robin, like, I'm like, Yo,
Like, they make animated movies that aren't Batman and Superman?
apparently, like let's go backwards. All right,
Do they even make Superman ones anymore? I mean, the last one that I remember was,
Superman Unbound. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But now Batman got so many of them.
We
Now
get
it's
like
like
2 Batman movies like every year or
The
so.
last
you realize Batman has enough movies that they could literally make a Batman universe.
a Batman. No, but the last not Justice League focused movie that we had that wasn't Batman or Superman was, oh damn, Green Lantern Emerald Knights in
I knew
2011.
it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew that was the one. Yeah. I knew that was the one.
Oh damn! And we couldn't even get an Aquaman movie. It had to be Justice League: Dawn of Atlantis, but they butchered. Oh damn! This is not good.
I didn't see that one.
It wasn't good. But anyway, back on point. I think we've talked enough about the history of it for damn near 20 minutes. I think we need to move into the trailer, because from talking about the trailer, we can further elaborate all of our concerns and why all of our fears are coming to light. Oh boy.
Hey, Chris, you want to kick this one off this time?
All right. Okay, I'm gonna kick this off. So, it's by no means, obviously, as you can tell from the past 20 minutes, that I've had my skepticism about this movie. I've had my skepticisms about the casting choices. How things just generally felt very corporate. Things felt like the reason why certain actors were getting cast and certain things were being done. It just felt like there was no creative say from the team behind it, outside of Zack Snyder saying, "Yeah, that'll be awesome." Outside of that, literally, it just felt to me like suits were pushing this movie. And when you watch this trailer, right? This trailer, literally, I can say this, the amount of shills for this is just too dang high. Because first and foremost, one thing I want to focus on is, do you guys remember how for the longest time everyone was saying that, I'm tired of all these realistic superhero movies, I'm tired of the dark, I'm tired of the gritty, I just want them to go back to like the comic booky style of things. And then you see this trailer where they're talking about all this crazy stuff and everyone's suddenly like, yeah man, this is what I want superhero movies with these things. I'm like, really? So you bitching when the other people do it, but now it's like you want that dark and gritty stuff? Oh, okay. Um, that's something I wanted to focus on in particular, because I just found it hilarious, because everyone was saying that Man of Steel was too dark apparently and too edgy, and then now this, which looks like 10 times the edge, everyone's like, no, this is great, man. It's
Well, you see, we know what the problem was. They said they wanted that for Man of Steel because that was Superman. This is a Batman movie, and Batman attached to anything makes it dark. So Superman's about to be in a dark environment.
Yeah, I like how they don't even try to hide that this is mostly a Batman movie. We have, like, in the intro, we have, like, 3 shots, I think, of Superman. And then it focuses in on Bruce Wayne, and then it focuses in on the Batsuit. Then it shows him running around doing stuff as Batman, including Batmobile firing off a machine gun or something, it looks like, or and the plane and everything.
Even saw the Batwing, yes.
Yeah, I mean they're bringing in everything, and it's kind of overkill, because it's like, what are you going to reveal in later movies then?
Yeah.
I mean, really, I don't know. It's like they brought out the Batmobile, they brought out the Batwing, they brought out the if that boat is there, I'm gonna stab somebody.
Yeah.
One thing
side note. Hold on, let me just jump in with this real
no
quick.
problem.
I would not be surprised. I mean, the only way they can do this justice and make it fair is if at some point they call this trailer the Batman trailer, and the next trailer has to be from Superman's point of view. If you want to make this fair, that's what they have to do with the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I doubt they will. What's getting me though is the way it starts. I mean, you see that Superman's been doing all this good. You see him doing the good, and that's all well and good. But then it gets weird, because even the folks on the video are saying, yeah, he can do good and everything, but he has the potential to do a lot of really bad stuff too, even though he hasn't. But he could, and so that makes him bad. And now, the reason that I'm saying this is because first and foremost, it's kind of weird that there are people who are literally like looking at him, holding their hands out, looking at him like he's some sort of.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, he's like Jesus to them.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there are these soldiers.
He's a messiah to them.
Yep.
These soldiers. He comes around the corner down this hallway. These soldiers literally take a knee to him. I mean, they're getting ridiculous with this.
Yo, for real.
But while the public is like adoring him, these people like on radio and TV, it sounds like, are saying he's evil and everything. But then contrasting seeing the public loving him, suddenly there's these people chanting "Go home," and it pans to his statue that they put up with him has been vandalized with the words "False God" inscribed on the chest. And it's like that's kind of weird and not really explaining what the heck's going on here.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to the whole Batman portion of everything, where it's like, and the quote that they put over it, it's Alfred talking about, that's how it starts, someone powerful appears, everybody else starts to feel powerless, and with that comes a rage and everything.
And cruel.
And, yeah, and it makes the man cruel. And then he's in his Batman suit, he's going around blowing stuff up, knocking the crap out of people. And then he just sets up something to lure in Superman and basically decides he's going to make him bleed. That, to me, sounds like we are dealing with a potentially mentally unstable, extremely jealous, very petulant Batman who is just pissed out that people forgot about him because now there's this new guy who's overshadowing anything he was ever able to do.
That's another thing that just doesn't make sense to me.
So it seems like this entire fight's motivated, and I don't know. Superman almost they're framing it almost like he's become kind of arrogant and full of himself and full of the love and everything, and then all of a sudden and so you got Batman being obscenely jealous and petty, and you got Superman being extremely arrogant and kind of petty too, in that he's allowing himself to be goaded into this fight just 'cause. And oh my God, that's when the voice comes in.
Oh,
I would take Bale over this. I'm sorry, I would.
I've seen a lot of people saying that it's probably just the suit.
But the suit's not covering his mouth, then why would he need to amplify his voice? That's the thing.
That's another thing I don't get. Like this is the thing. You know how the excuse everybody gave the Bale voice was that, well, Bruce Wayne is a very prominent public figure, gives a lot of speeches, so that's why he had the cancer voice. And now they're using the same excuse from then for this one. But I'm like, I thought you guys didn't want the hyper realism, like.
Right.
But well, I mean, more than that, you can.
This one guy on YouTube tried to be a smart aleck. He was like, obviously he has a voice modulator and also a speaker in his helmet because it's raining outside.
Here's the thing, though. I kind of know one reason why they might be doing that. Because if you've seen Ben Affleck in any movie, whenever he tries to deepen his voice, growl or anything, the pitch barely alters. Like, and I know people don't like me going back to Daredevil because that was years ago. He's gotten better. First of all, he was already an award-winning actor back then, so quiet. Second of all, that was just a lousy performance. Sorry, but number two, it's not even about that. I don't even want to talk about the quality of his acting. I want to talk about the quality of his voice because when he was playing Daredevil, as opposed to Matt Murdock, when he was Matt Murdock, he talked normally. When he was out as Daredevil, he would try to deepen his voice and make it more gruff, and it was barely noticeable. It sounded like he just had a slightly sore throat.
Do you need a lozenge?
Yeah, basically. And I'm thinking that might be why they opted to go with this, because even though they tried to claim that he was so great for the part, he's really not. I mean, even when he's wearing that bat suit, the most intimidating thing about him are the fact that oh God, that's another thing I want to talk about.
The suit is intimidating. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the robot suit is intimidating, and that's because of the glowing white eyes.
Yeah.
But the suit itself is somewhat intimidating because, and that's the sad thing about this, we have a Spider-Man all over again. And I mean a Raimi Spider-Man. Raimi Man all over again, in that is obviously fake bulk in there. Now, I'm not going to say that Affleck didn't bulk up. He did. He did, and I'm not going to lie, it's pretty impressive. But the way that suit is padded out, they bulked him up to Frank Miller caliber, and they even put, like, these creases in it where like the veins would be whenever
Yeah.
Miller would draw Batman.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
like,
you talking about the original suit, right? Not the armor.
yeah, not the armor, no,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
suit
yeah.
you see him in
Yeah,
for like
I kept saying he
seconds.
looks too big in that suit.
Yeah.
And it's just it's like Raimi Man when they gave him the fake padded abs and pecs, and you could tell because during some scenes they wouldn't align it properly, so his abs were like off to the right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things all over again, and the fact that, oh gosh, I don't know, it's just it they've somehow managed to ruin two really good characters. I mean, like I said, I'm not them being a little bit on a character. First of all, they were in the Dark Knight Returns, like I said, but they weren't like this, and at least they had a history between each other to lead up to that kind of level of resentment and bottled up feelings and repressed anger and you
Yeah,
know and here they don't, and it's like he's just mad that you are making people forget me. I'm not gonna say that that's gonna be the final thing in the movie. That's what I really really want people to understand. I'm not making claims or guarantees as to what's in the final product, but the point of a trailer is to give you an idea of what the movie is going to be like, what the movie is about. And the fact that this is what they chose to do it with does frame the story in that regard. So even if the movie, I'll just say this, if the movie turns out nothing like this trailer, then there's a shot it could be maybe a good movie, but this is definitely a terrible trailer. If the movie does turn out to be like this trailer, this is going to be a terrible movie, a terrible adaptation. It really is.
One thing I definitely think, what I have noticed, again, going back to the whole Marvel thing, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people nowadays are just easily satisfied. A lot of people get their enjoyment and their excitement out of the hype factor just because it's Batman versus Superman, just because this is the first time we're seeing them on screen together, and they don't really understand much of it behind it. So when you put this trailer together and you see people flipping out and going crazy, it paints a broader picture, because you start seeing that people are just easier to go after in this event if they have to put in the most minimal amount of effort, and they're going to have people straight up defending it as, oh, this is artistic, oh, this is different than what we've had before.
Well, I mean, you can just look at the fact that that atrocity of a Ninja Turtles movie was not a financial flop to see that,
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
and the fact that the last Transformers movie broke 1 billion. We could have had a reboot. We would have if that had flopped. They,
I think the past two have broken 1 billion. I think Dark of the Moon
I
broke a
mean,
billion. Yeah.
well, they were going to reboot it. They were, but
Yeah.
then they came back and said, "I want to do at least one more because I'm worried someone else might ruin it." And instead of tying up the loose ends, how they said he'd tie up,
somebody else may ruin it, right?
yeah. And he said, there's these loose ends I need to tie up. There weren't no loose ends. He created loose ends that made no sense,
Yeah.
and then tried to fill them in the movie.
Yeah.
But I digress. That's off topic. Point is, people are very easily entertained anymore, and it kind of makes me sad because I'm 99% convinced that Dragon Ball Evolution had come out today, as opposed to when it did. We'd probably be getting the third or fourth movie by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd agree
Exactly.
with that. Yep.
It's to the point now we could put our money together. If we could put our money together and make a pitch for a Thundercats movie, people would be
Yes.
hyped for it.
To be
Just
honest,
off the name. Just off the name.
easily impressed. Just easily impressed. Standards have definitely been lowered, especially when it
And,
comes to
and,
trailers.
and, and we can make a teaser trailer. We can make a teaser trailer that shows absolutely nothing. Just have a hard close in of the Thundercats logo and let it pan back on the sword and let it go all black. And then you hear Lionel say the infamous quote. That's it. Then people lose it.
Well,
Lose.
it worked for this movie.
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
It's just people easily entertained, man. And I was like, and I don't want to try to generalize people, but I've known a lot of bitter DC fans that just would go to every Marvel trailer and just they would defend this movie when there was nothing to show. And now that this one trailer is out, it's this one guy, I know I'm not going to say his name, but I see on Facebook, he puts this trailer everywhere.
Oh, God.
It's almost like he done went to everybody he's had an argument with and put this trailer everywhere.
Man, those type of people. But, I mean, it's just... I'm more concerned about the bigger picture behind it. Everyone's saying that, well, it could still be a good movie because of this, that, and the third. People realize in 2016, when this movie comes out, we're going to be in phase 3 of the MCU. Like, and again, not to put Marvel on a pedestal, but come on now, in phase 3, we're going to be introducing so many more characters that the MCU has never seen, whereas DC, we're just having Batman, Superman, and even their other properties, number one, have not been started yet, and number two, Wonder Woman, which is supposed to come out, 2017, even that's having problems.
Oh yeah, they've had to swap directors.
Yeah,
They're alleging that the director that they booted, who actually left,
Yeah.
yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
she wanted an action oriented movie, and they wanted one that's character driven. And the example for comparison that they chose was Braveheart.
I quit.
She wanted a movie that was too much like Braveheart, and they wanted a character driven movie. Let that sink in. These people know nothing about movies. I mean, Braveheart was... Oh my gosh, that is an extremely character-driven movie.
Okay, anyway.
But yeah, okay, and in the interest of full disclosure and to prove we're not being Marvel biased here, Ant-Man looks like generic crap.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
really does. It's like we're back to square one where somebody has a generic introduction. Maybe the second one will be better. Maybe.
Ant-Man looks like generic crap. There's still a chance they could screw up Spider-Man, and I have high hopes for Doctor Strange, provided Marvel does not try to force the director, who is a literal genius, to do something he doesn't want to do.
Yes.
And there we go. Full disclosure.
There you go. I mean, we've had many rants on the MCU. We just never recorded it. So there's no fanboyism here.
You know what? We should. That's, just to prove. That's going to be our next one. Next time we'll be united.
God, the video vault is now real.
It's exposed to the world. But do you guys have any last minute thoughts before we wrap up a 40-minute video on a 2-minute trailer?
Yeah, I'll just go. Yeah, something I was trying to say earlier, but it kind of slipped my mind to go off. How pretty much how Danny was saying, how the trailer makes it puts it off like Batman has this type of jealousy or just this need to break Superman down. I mean, that line says a lot more than just one sentence. That line is literally like, okay, everybody's building you up. Can you bleed? Well, if you don't know, you're about to. It's like he wants to break them, And my problem, and this is my problem with them doing the Dark Knight Returns, is that the Dark Knight Returns, I understand Bruce's hostility towards Clark. Clark pretty much strong-armed that whole deal for the Justice League to split up. That's what they kept insinuating. And then remember what he did to Oliver or the Green Arrow. He something happened with his arm leaving his body, and I can understand.
Well, in fairness, even Clark can understand the reason Bruce is mad at Clark. He's not necessarily terribly proud of what he did, but he still feels he had to do it.
Exactly, and I can understand the fact that Clark strong-arming that Justice League deal where they all disbanded, and when Green Arrow refused to, he got his arm whacked off. Bruce had to retire. He, no matter how much of a hissy fit he put up, he still ended up having to go as well. And so I can see somebody like that I can see that type of helplessness, and you just want to be like, man, if I had a chance, to quote Bernie Mac, if I had a rock, I'd bust your head. I can understand you being mad just for the point. Like I'm like, you don't want to feel that type of helplessness, and that's why I understand the Dark Knight Returns. Why, when Superman got hit with the kryptonite, and Bruce was up there just wailing on him, just talking all that mess, and then he said the infamous line, "I want you to know, no matter what, the one man that beat you, that was personal." I get that though, and it was
Even though it
history.
was actually one man plus a one-armed archer plus a teenage girl plus a tank and
Hey,
a
Bruce.
nuclear explosion. But
And
hey,
prep time.
Hey,
And prep time. You can't forget
exactly,
that.
exactly. Hey, Bruce accepted what he got. He was able to hold him by his collar with a busted lip. He accepted it. He was like, "I got you. I don't care how, but I had you."
You leave my prep time
and
alone.
then faked a heart attack.
And then
But
fake the heart attack.
You're
but
ruining my
yeah,
memory of the
it's
story.
but I mean the actual bottom line of the Dark Knight Returns is actually similar to the Civil War storyline in Marvel, except it did turn into an absolute train wreck by the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
in that, I mean, Batman basically stood for the individual and they're basically I do this on my terms. I don't take orders from anyone. I do what I think is right. That's the reason I put on that mask. I do things that they can't. I do things that they won't. I do what I need to do to save my city, and I have a right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a right to do it on my own if I choose. I do not need to work with them. I accept that I'm doing it outside the law, but I'm still doing what's right. Superman, on the other hand, he was very much a government flunky
Yeah.
in this story.
Government
He had
puppet. Yeah.
completely capitulated to that. He was going, attacking political enemies. He was, basically saying that everything we have to do has to be sanctioned and within the law.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why he and Bruce were having problems again, because he had heard rumors that Batman was back on the streets,
Hmm.
and that was a no-no. And he basically dropped hints that if this keeps up, I won't be able to ignore it. And he basically told him, go ahead and try it. And then it finally did come to a head, and yeah.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I mean, this is just them basically. This is basically it's become a contest of who can whip it out and measure it the longest. I mean it's the pettiest reason for anything like this that I have ever
There's no
seen.
hostility that should exist between the two outside of that weird jealousy angle. At the same time, a lot of people I've seen are claiming that it's because Superman caused so much destruction in the last movie. That's why
And
Bruce is
and then
angry at
they-
him. And I'm like,
they're gonna hide. They're gonna hide behind that general Batman paranoia.
yeah, they're gonna hide behind the fact,
They're so dangerous. What if they go
which I
wrong?
don't understand. Apparently, if Bruce Wayne was in Metropolis, this is the thing I don't get. If this is a seasoned veteran Batman, right? Seasoned veteran, they've established he has some years on him, right?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is Batman. This is the
he's
quote
retired
unquote.
now.
This is the
This is a retired
uh,
Batman.
Yeah,
for real.
he's been Batman. He stopped being Batman.
Okay, so I want to put this in perspective
God,
for
I didn't
everybody.
know that. I
That
didn't
that
know
makes
that.
things much worse. If this is a seasoned veteran Batman, two things. Number one, if he was in Metropolis evacuating people when all this was going down, are you telling me that in this now comic booky version of Batman, he did not have his fucking bat freaking jet up in the sky that could deploy his suit that could
Oh,
help him
dude,
out?
dude, dude, it's worse. I mean, they even said outright, remember, he's been watching everything with drones.
Are you telling me that?
He had drones out there, and he didn't even try to do anything to help him against nothing. Nada. Nothing to help mitigate that destruction? Nil.
See, and apparently this works, but we can't put Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield in the MCU, but that's another video.
It,
This works, and I don't get it. So he did nothing. He's just watching, like, this Alfred, this is quality entertainment. No, but I don't get that, and I also don't get how, I don't know if this was confirmed or not. I was talking to you guys about this earlier. How apparently there are other members of the Justice League, more powerful
that's
cosmic.
the other thing. That's the other thing. What gets me is that they've also established these other heroes are out there, and yet they knew that this was going on with these world devastating things. They did nothing to stop them. They can't even use the wasn't in my territory argument because one of them was in the freaking ocean, and as you know, the entire freaking ocean is Aquaman's territory. And considering the fact that they're pretty obviously not going with classic Aquaman, but modern Aquaman,
Mm-hmm.
who is able to punch Superman hard enough that it sends him flying back and actually draws blood.
Apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
They had to
Among other,
break Aquaman to make him relevant.
yeah, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way in heck he couldn't have done something at least about that one.
That
Like,
combined with how Superman's basically being made out to be a bad guy by everybody.
Nobody likes him, yo. I would not be surprised if during this fight, the replacement for Green Arrow and The Dark Knight Returns, Aquaman and Wonder Woman, all three of them are probably just gonna jump Superman.
Yo, it's gonna be a superhero beatdown. No,
Yo, it's gonna be a West Side jumping. Yo, they gonna have him on the ground, stomping him out.
Yo, another thing I don't understand. You know, everyone was going crazy, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe there are these aliens with these powers and all this crazy stuff." Are you telling me that in all of Batman's rogue gallery, people would have noticed that there were some people who were kind of different than the average human? Like,
I don't know, but it's gonna be one of those things where basically, yeah, they're all gonna jump him. You know, they're gonna be kicking him while he's on the ground. Robin's gonna be over there with a cell phone screaming "World Star." But
World Star.
Yo,
but
Since we're just being ridiculous, yo, it's gonna be Damien with the hood on, record, yo, World Star.
World Star, and then he's gonna be there. He's like, "You know what got beat? These nuts." Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
Got
him. Oh my god, I'd pay to see that.
Yo, for real. It's gonna be a West Side whooping Superman. No reason.
But yeah, and then I mean, there's also what also gets me is the fact that they're basically trying to redo the Justice League.
Oh god.
They're not a group of superheroes who are, out there trying to save the planet anymore. They're out there representing their respective regions.
Yo, this is some gang shit.
Like Wonder Woman represents like the Mediterranean area because she's a creature of Greek mythology, as it were. So she lives on her island is actually like hidden away in the Mediterranean off the coast of Greece. They also changed her origin. She is no longer I forget. She originally Zeus was like her grandpa in the Greek pantheon, but that's only by technicality because first she was actually created by her, so her mother was actually her creator. But that's beside the point. Then she actually became her mother, but either way, Zeus was grandpa. But now Zeus in this is her daddy. She's just generically another child of Zeus and his.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing he can't keep in his robe.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But and I'm worried about this. And then on top of that, you have the people at DC now. The DC movieverse are basically not afraid to be a-holes about the whole thing now. I mean, David Goyer, when people were asking, "Oh, can we see Martian Manhunter? Are we ever going to see it?" He looks to the crowd and he says, "How many people here have heard of Martian Manhunter?" And when people raised their hands, he said, "Now, how many of you who raised your hands have ever been laid?" I mean, that is the level of maturity and professionalism we are dealing with here. And they're firing shots at Marvel constantly, and I mean not the Marvel movies, Marvel in general, like right down to the comics. David Goyer comes out and says that She-Hulk was designed as a male sex fantasy and just to be a highly sexualized sex partner for the Hulk. And this, by the way, is a comic that he claims that he's read as a child, since he was a child. So he can criticize this because this is something he's familiar with. It's like, if this is something you're familiar with, then you would know that She-Hulk is Bruce Banner's cousin. Who got her powers because of a blood transfusion.
Yep.
Anybody that's smart know that.
Yeah, I mean, she even refers to him as such to his face multiple times.
Yeah.
They even joke about it when she was part of the Avengers and the Hulk would go on a rampage and they had to stop him. they'd make all kinds of like family reunion jokes, awkward family reunion stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's common knowledge if you know a thing about the character, but he apparently doesn't even get that. Um,
Yeah, that's ignorance right there.
he's fired shots at other Marvel properties too, including oh gosh, what else did he insult? I forget.
Mm,
I can't remember, but there was something else that he had
yeah.
fired a couple shots at. And then you have friggin'
Uh, the Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa signing an
Yeah,
autograph, and then underneath it he writes F Marvel. It's like
yeah,
I don't see anyone in Marvel like doing that. I mean, if anything, they'll fire shots at the other characters to kind of create some sort of inter fandom debate thing going on, but that's mostly to create buzz
yeah.
for the movie. And I don't see
Well,
them. The only person I know of that has ever fired shots at DC that's part of Marvel has been Robert
Anthony
Downey
Mackie.
Jr.
Now Anthony
Anthony
Mackie,
Mackie.
he kind of had a little bit of fun,
But
and I remember the fans
yeah.
jumped all down his throat about it.
Mm-hmm.
But but I mean, it's like Robert Downey Jr. is the only one that I know of that ever told DC basically to go screw themselves because they had taken something that was not meant to be terribly super complex and basically tried to rewrite it to the point where you almost need a college degree to properly analyze it, or at least they act like you do. And it's it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, but that was one time. He hasn't done that again since. But I mean, you got the DC people like starting to fire off these kinds of shots now too. And it's like at least the Marvel guys, they have something they have ground to stand on. They when that had happened had an established, fleshed out cinematic universe. DC has one movie and one coming, and the others haven't even been made yet. And they're seeing fit to start talking crap. I mean,
Yeah, basically, what Anthony Mackie had said was they were talking about because you guys remember when this was a big deal when Batman and Captain America I think shared the same release date, and then Batman moved it up, and everyone was talking like, "Oh snap, they're scared and everything." And then basically what they were saying is like, I remember it was one of the Russo brothers was like, "Oh, there are two cars in a lane and they're going X amount of miles. One of them's gonna have to veer out. So it was funny humor, nothing too crazy, but well, I don't know.
well, yeah, but I mean that's a joke about a release date,
Yeah,
though. That's not
yeah,
saying
yeah. No, of course, of
you're
course. Yeah,
crap,
I know
you
exactly.
know.
That's what I was basically saying.
But they're firing shots at Marvel in terms of like quality and stuff.
Yeah,
It's getting
Yeah, I mean, and Momoa just writing on that poster, F Marvel. I'm like, really,
like come on now,
really.
like
I mean, you want to start throwing vulgarity in the public here. I mean,
especially
it's
like
it's one thing to stir up some fans, stir up some debate and all that, but you want to throw vulgarity out there.
yeah, but
I mean, you got to keep in mind your status too. You are now a role model for kids. I mean, even Chris Evans has said that, he can't go out and party as much as he used to. He
mm-hmm.
can't go out drinking as much as he used to. He, stays in shape more than he used to because, he knows that kids look up to him. He's a role model now, and he said, "Yeah, I do have a private life, and I do suffer from my public life." He said, "At the same time, I chose a career that made my life pretty public, and that I am a role model to these kids. And so long as I am playing this character and being this role model to these kids, it's my responsibility to act accordingly."
Mm-hmm.
And he has, and I got a lot of respect for him for that. But I mean, at the same time, I suppose it is your life, and you're free to do what you choose. But I mean, the completely gratuitous vulgarity,
Yeah, that's a bit too out there, but regardless of that, I think we've pretty much summed up everything we've wanted to say. I know I was supposed to end this about 15 minutes ago, but things didn't go according to plan. And
Hey man, the best videos like this are ones that trail like
yeah,
that.
and it's been nice because we have not gotten together and done a video together since. Oh man, the three of us. I don't want to say it was this long ago, but was it The Dark Knight Rises?
Yep.
Yep, it
That
was.
was in a couple of months. In about 4 months, it'll make 3 years since we've done a video together. The trio is reunited.
Yep.
Oh man,
Yeah, I know YouTube busters can shoot out a video anytime. I find out on YouTube the next day. You know?
Yeah, but to be honest, this is something that we do like talking about. So I think we're probably gonna bring this back because it's fun
We
talking
have
with you
to.
gents. Like, it's an hour has gone by and it just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it's just breezed past.
Yo, for real. So, gentlemen, I thank you for joining me on this fantastically long episode of VEDA. If you guys want to plug yourselves, let people know what you're going to be doing, feel free to do so right now.
uh, not really. I'm good.
Okay. What about you, young Roz? Are you going to be making a grandiose return to YouTube anytime soon? I know a lot of people are wondering that.
Man, I'm trying to. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna go about doing it because as of right now, I don't have the tools good enough to make the type of videos I used to. If I would return,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to do it old school using my phone camera and all that. And I'm just contemplating whether I want to do that or not. So,
Got you. Got you. Alrighty, gents. So, signing off from Danny D's World and ROTS112, I'm GS signing out, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
peace.
See ya, fellas.
That was that greatness right there. But real quick, I'm about to use